I got here late. I'm sure I missed a bunch of context.
That's okay.
But just the idea of like
What's the ultimate reality?
stating that you know God.
Yeah.
A lot of people would hear that as a really arrogant statement.
Yeah, it could seem that way, couldn't it?
Like, what's your response to that?
What's my response to that? Well, God rescued me. And there's two or three things that happen in that. One is there's no question. That's the point of the Christian message is there's this, if I could use the word existential, there's a reality that a person can know God. They can actually know God. And when I was a college student and heard all the debates against God and came to the conclusion that maybe this was true, I did pursue God and said, I want to know you. I want you to rescue me. And I saw him for who he was. I read the scriptures, Gospel of John particularly. And I then stepped in and put my trust in Christ.
Yeah.
And I didn't cast my brain aside. That was part of my original problem, is I thought what people were saying is it's just this blind leap sort of thing. But I heard a guy that give all sorts of evidences like we're talking about going, well, this adds up more than just somebody's blind leap. But here is the reality, is that a person can't experience that until they step into it. I can look at all the evidence and at some point you say, okay, I'm going to put my trust in that because it seems true, it seems real, and I would say it's because it's a work of God that you come to that conclusion anyway. But when you put your trust in there, all of a sudden you find something in your soul that you've never had before, and that's the testimony of Christians. And we could put words with that. We could call it peace, we could call it joy, we could call it the matter has been settled, I'm forgiven, I'm not afraid of death. Now, I realize those are existential. I can't put those on an empirical, laboratory table, but they're real. And it's the testimony of Christians from day one. But I would say it's similar to getting on a jet plane. I don't know if that thing can fly. I fly jets all the time. Sam and I went to other countries talking to people about Christ all over. Well, at some point I look at that jet and I go, I think this thing will hold me. And there's a system around it that looks like it will hold me. It's the idea of knowing. It's called epistemology, right? You look at the evidences, you put them together, this looks like it will work, and at some point you have to say, by faith, and every human being does this, you do this with a jet, I'm going to step in, and I'm going to rest on this thing.
Yeah.
And guess what happens? Lifts you up, takes you, you land, and a couple things happen. First of all, there was a demonstration of your faith that you actually experienced the result of you trusting it. And the other thing that happens, which is really crazy, is that now you have more trust in the next time you do it. Because your trust just grew. It's almost like a muscle. It kind of like got strengthened. Well, that's what happens throughout the world, all tribes, all tongues, nations. You can go anywhere in the world and you can find people who said they've had an encounter with Jesus Christ. They didn't throw their brain out the window, and it's very real. And so I would say it's not arrogance, it's my experience. I really haven't had an experience.
Well, and
with the living God. Sam's had the experience.
Well,
with
to
the
say it
living God.
another way too, like,
yeah, go.
Who's the guy that why do I feel it was like Christopher Walken's or something? Remember we did that postmodern thing?
Yeah, Watkins did it.
Yeah, he said it's not like I think this is him, it might be somebody else. He probably recycled this statement. It's not like we climbed the greasy pole.
Oh yeah, I love that. Yep.
And like, we found God. That's arrogance.
Yeah,
and that's pride.
That's a great way to think about it.
And so you have all these different religions, all these different worldviews, and I'm making the claim, no, I'm the one that climbed the pole, the greasy pole, and I got up there and I got it. I know truth. And you guys don't. It's like, no, God came down and revealed himself. And we said that earlier, but it's like.
And he revealed himself, like say in a corporate way. We can look at the scriptures and you can see it. But then I would actually say that an individual person can have an individual experience with the living God where he reveals himself to him.
Yeah.
And I would say as a college student, that's what happened to me. And it was real. It was real. I met Christ. And it's been with me ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how that works. Hey, how you doing?
Good. What were you dialoguing about?
About life, meaning of life, ultimate meaning, the reality of God, the reality of Christ, reality of scriptures, philosophy, kind of like a real dialogue without people screaming and yelling at each other, right?
If I have time later.
Come, what's your name?
No, I'm Allie.
Come back, Allie. Seriously, we want to try to create some.
Awesome.
It'd be great.
I'm Jewish. I have lots to say.
Oh,
yes.
Perfect. Come back. Does that answer your question?
It's helpful.
And you guys can add more or take away, or that would be the answer.